Israeli occupation forces entered the rural region south of Damascus, the Syrian capital, near the Lebanese border. On the first anniversary of Javier Milei's government in Argentina, the far-right-wing president drove approximately 23 million people into poverty. And on December 10th, the international community commemorates the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. Israeli occupation forces entered the rural region south of Damascus, the Syrian capital, near the Lebanese border. The forces seized the town of Hina with the aim of advancing towards Han al-Sheikh in the Katana area, opposite the Lebanese Ras Shaya neighborhood. The Israeli tanks were less than 3 kilometers from the town of Katana and about 20 kilometers from Damascus. According to Lebanese military and security analyst Charles Abinader, Israeli troops infiltrated into Syrian territory without encountering resistance. And the UN registers that more than 1.6 million people are at risk of being displaced in Syria. This figure is in addition to the hundreds of thousands who have already been forced to flee. According to World Food Program Director Cindy McCain, $250 million are urgently needed to prevent more people in Syria from falling into famine. She explained that agency members remain there and providing vital assistance despite the escalating situation, adding that they continue to expand their work to ensure that food reaches people in need wherever they are. And the coalition of armed terrorist groups in Syria responsible for the overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad announced the creation of a transitional government led by Mohammed al-Bashir. According to the terrorist coalition, al-Bashir, who until now was at the head of a terrorist group belonging to the Al-Qaeda organization, will be in charge of managing the transition phase in order to establish the new government, under the pretext of preventing Syria from entering into a state of chaos. The announcement was made after talks between the extremist groups and former Prime Minister Mohammed al-Halali. Mohammed al-Bashir, head of Syria's transitional government, is a politician and engineer who served as Minister of Development in the Government of Salvation during the 5th and 6th sessions. Later, the Shura General Council announced that he had received a majority vote of confidence to head the Council of Ministers in early 2024. Bashir is a key member of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham terrorist group, an affiliate of the Al-Qaeda organization. And terrorist groups in Syria have declared a curfew in several parts of the country following the overthrow of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The measure came into force from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. local time in the cities of Damascus, Latakia, and Tartus. Terrorists warned the public that those who do not comply with their decision will be sentenced to 1 month in prison. Medical personnel, firefighters, ambulance workers, and security forces are the only ones exempted from the ban. The International Federation of Journalists has informed that as of December 10, 2024, 104 journalists have been killed worldwide. According to this data, 2024 has been another particularly deadly year for journalists and media professionals. The organization reaffirms its commitment to the urgent adoption by the United Nations of a global convention to protect journalists. In this context, for the second year in a row, the Middle East is the region that holds the dismal record for the number of journalists killed, reaching 66 dead in 2024, 55 of them in Gaza. On October 13, 2023, the International Federation of Journalists urged UNESCO to make efforts for the protection of the members of this sector. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in court to testify as a defendant in criminal charges against him for 3 separate cases. Netanyahu will answer charges of fraud, breach of trust, and accepting bribes in 3 separate cases during his court appearances. He denies wrongdoing and says the charges are a witch hunt orchestrated by a hostile media and a biased legal system that seeks to overthrow him. Dozens of people gathered outside the court in Tel Aviv, some to protest against Netanyahu, including relatives of hostages held in Gaza. It will be the first time an Israeli prime minister testifies as a defendant in a criminal trial. South Korea's parliament on Tuesday approved a motion to appoint a prosecutor to investigate President Yoon Suk-yeol over the introduction of martial law. The declaration of martial law, the first in more than 40 years, lasted only about 6 hours but triggered large street protests. Yoon and his associates face criminal investigations and impeachment attempts. In this context, the Justice Ministry has also banned the president and 8 others from leaving the country. Likewise, former Defense Minister Kim Jong-hyun, who has been accused of recommending the martial law and sending troops to the National Assembly to prevent lawmakers from voting on it, has been detained since Sunday. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. On the first anniversary of Javier Milei's government in Argentina, the ultra-right-wing president drove approximately 23 million people into poverty. More than half of the population has fallen into poverty as a result of the neoliberal economic policies implemented by Milei. In this context, the gross domestic product contracted more than 66% of children under the age of 14 live in households with incomes below poverty levels, and key sectors such as industry, construction, and retail trade are facing major difficulties. Likewise, thousands of people, mostly unemployed and retired, depend on soup kitchens. At the same time, Milei eliminated regulations in sectors such as energy and private healthcare.
It is terrible, but today I have nothing to eat. I don't come every day, but when the spontaneous need arises, I say, phew, I don't have money, I don't have any. I have already asked for loans here and there. So I have to come here. They take care of me here. They give me food for the day.
We used to cook 13 pots. Since Milei took over, we cook 28 pots, and there is not enough food. The government sends food for 1,800 rations. However, we distribute rations for 4,000 and 5,000 people on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
The group of priests of the Option for the Poor issued a communique on Monday accusing Argentine President Javier Milei of creating hunger among the population. Through a statement, the group affirmed that 1 year after Milei's government took over the executive power, the real winner was the concentrated economic power. They summarized the main problems of different groups that have been abandoned by the state, such as doctors, pensioners, universities, laid-off workers, and indigenous people and rural communities. On 1 year after La Libertad Avanza assumed the presidency of the nation, the Social Observatory of the Argentine Catholic University revealed that 49.9% of the population is below the poverty line. And in Peru, relatives of those murdered in 2022 in Ayacucho protested outside the airport of that region to reject the presence of Dina Boluarte. The demonstration took place within the framework of the commemoration of the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Ayacucho, where groups of people rejected the president for the coup that led to her appointment and left at least 50 dead. Likewise, social organizations demand justice as they assure that the authorities have not taken the right measures. In this regard, the demonstrators took the opportunity to reflect on the independence of Peru, considering that the people continue to be subjected to a colonial regime under the predominance of the great economic powers. We now have news updates from Brazil. President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva is recovering in an intensive care unit after undergoing surgery for an intracranial hemorrhage, as reported by the Syrio-Lebanese hospital through a statement released early this Tuesday. The statement informed that the head of state went to a health facility for tests after feeling a headache, adding that the results of the subsequent MRI show intracranial hemorrhage, product of a home accident. He was transferred to the Sao Paulo unit of the hospital, where a craniotomy was performed to drain the hematoma. The institution assured the surgery was performed without incidents and the president is doing well. In this regard, the chief minister of the Brazilian government Secretariat of Communication, Paulo Pimenta, assured the post-operation rest period is usually 24 to 48 hours. On the Indonesian island of Java, flash landslides and floods devastated 172 villages, claiming at least 10 lives and forcing over 3,000 people to evacuate. Indonesian rescuers pulled out 10 corpses in the most hit villages, including those of 3 children, while they continue searching for 2 missing villagers after the mudslides. Likewise, the disaster has destroyed 31 bridges, 81 roads, and 539 hectares of rice fields, while 1,170 houses have been flooded up to the roof. The local disaster management agency noted that severe weather conditions have damaged over 3,300 houses and buildings as well. And authorities in the Philippines evacuated more than 9,200 people living in areas threatened by the eruption of the Canlaon volcano. The Civil Defense said 9,403 residents of areas close to the volcano located on the island of Negros have already been moved to evacuation centers. It informed that food would have to be collected and shipped to feed some 34,000 people, as well as thousands of tents and beds. The Canlaon volcano erupted last Monday afternoon, spraying a cloud of ash that quickly rose 3,000 meters up the chimney, scattering debris in numerous towns and spewing hot volcanic gases. And Brazilian authorities also declared a state of water scarcity for 5 of the country's major river basins, the first time in the history of more than a century of volume measurements. The National Water and Basic Sanitation Agency said that these are the basins of the Madeira, Purus, Tapajos, and Xingu rivers, all tributaries of the Amazon and the Paraguay River, which crosses the Pantanal. Official data informed that the drought reaches a total affected territory of 2,264 million square kilometers. It is also expected that the drought situation remains intense in the northern region of the country. For its part, the National Center for Natural Disasters indicated that nearly 50 cities in Maranhão are facing severe drought. We now have a 7 short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On December 10th, the international community commemorates the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations. The Human Rights Day commemorates this historic international commitment crafted by representatives from different parts of the world and adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1948. Its 30 articles list the fundamental human rights that must be universally protected. Human rights are norms that recognize and protect the dignity of all human beings and are inherent to all people regardless of nationality, sex, ethnic, religion, language, or any other status. And El Salvador remembers with sadness the massacre of El Mozote carried out in December 1982 by the armed forces. The massacre occurred on December 11, 1981, when troops entered the rural area of Morazán, where the National Liberation Army had been active. Although local residents were not involved, members of the community were arrested, and over a period of 3 days, 989 people were killed, according to official data. This case, which occurred 43 years ago, is still being investigated, but with serious difficulties in documenting what happened. While achieving justice is important in itself, it would also represent the strength and independence of the justice system. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro stated that the victory of Ayacucho sealed the liberation of Latin America from 3 centuries of colonialism. During a commemorative act for the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Ayacucho, the Venezuelan president highlighted the work of the troops led by the Great Marshal of Ayacucho, Antonio José de Sucre, who defeated what was then the most powerful army on earth, the Spanish Army. President Maduro also stated that this victory defined the destiny of the coming years for the Americas and its free and independent peoples. At the same time, he emphasized that the struggle for the defense of the freedom granted to us is extremely important in these years, where imperialism seeks to destroy what was achieved with the liberation struggle. And Colombia pays tribute to independence hero José María Córdoba in the context of the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Ayacucho. Authorities and members of the armed forces gathered near the mausoleum where the remains of José María Córdoba rest in the municipality of Rio Negro, Antioquia. After the commemorative act, the officials laid a wreath at the tomb of Córdoba. In addition, a central ceremony that included a military parade for the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Ayacucho and the Peruvian Army was held in the Cáceres Square of the headquarters. Several activities have also been scheduled throughout the day at the sanctuary of La Pampa de la Quinoa in the Ayacucho region. And in Nicaragua, President Daniel Ortega, along with various authorities of the country, attended the 29th graduation of officers of the Center for Higher Military Studies, General José Dolores Estrada Vado. During the ceremony, President Ortega presented diplomas and certificates of recognition to the best students and a diploma of athletic spirit to the outstanding graduate. He also took the opportunity to denounce and condemn the recent events in Syria, while assuring that Nicaragua joins the calls for peace made by various countries and organizations. Finally, he recalled and saluted the bicentennial of the Battle of Ayacucho, praising this historic milestone for the peoples of our Americas. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.